let's just talk about, generally speaking, sleep and what sleep should look like. Do you guys know the general recommendations for sleep? Just general adult recommendations? Yeah, 6 to 8 hours. Now that's for someone who mostly lives their life sedentary. Yeah, so when we talk about athletes, we're talking 8 to 11, right? So 9.5 hours on average. How possible is that for anyone here? Probably not. But it's now important for all of us to recognize and go, okay, if I needed to push my training 10 out of 10, that's one of the things I have to do. And if I can't do that, then I'm already impacting my total recoverable volume because I'm not doing one of the things in order to recover, all right? Now, that's sort of that. And life should take precedence over your training, but just recognize that that's probably where you should be, okay? Then, life stress. When it comes to life stress, we've got the sympathetic system, and we've got the parasympathetic system. Do you guys know what we refer the sympathetic nervous system as? Its role is the fight or flight, yeah. And parasympathetic. What was that?
Feed and breathe.
Feed and breathe. For a more modest approach, we're going rest and digest. So essentially anything that makes you feel stressed, whether it's a positive stress or negative stress, that's all going to feed into sympathetic nervous system. Now, you're going to go through blocks of training, you're going to go through times in life where your sympathetic system is overstimulated, or you're working very hard, or you're in a fight with your partner, or you got kicked out of your house, or whatever it is. And all of that stuff is going to mean sympathetic nervous system goes way up. Now, we can try to combat that with increased parasympathetic, which we never really run into the issue that sympathetic drive is too high. Okay? When it's down and you come in and you can get it firing, then it's only going to fire better. Parasympathetic system, let's fire out some things that might stimulate the parasympathetic system. If you want to be inappropriate first.
Reading.
Are there kids in here? No kids? All right, cool. Sex. I would go like something like a meditation for contrast. That being said, it's just super basic stuff, really just back to what makes you feel relaxed and what makes you feel that you enjoy something. And so when it comes to principles of recovery, the research, when we look at things like ice baths, at saunas, at infrared therapy, at electrotherapy, at acupuncture, the research favors two things, one of which is massage, and second of which is active recovery. Okay, so I don't know how good the benefits are in Ithaca. Most people can't go and get massages every day. And so then for me, I say there's nothing better than active recovery, a sort of meditation. Go for a walk in the forest with your dog or something that you just enjoy to do. And you'll notice, if you look at the behavior patterns of people in the gym who rock up just energized every day, they usually don't rock up energized and tell you about the most stressful thing going on in their life, and say that their job is shit, and tell you that they're in a fight with their partner. Usually these people are just happy-go-lucky. They can sort of take anything in stride. They're very calm, cool, and collected. And for those of you who compete, you'll know the feeling that if you do the same workout on the competition floor, it feels like it takes 10 times out of you more than if you were to do that in the gym, even if you're smashing yourself in both regards, simply because your sympathetic nervous system is higher because of the stimulation of the time pressure and the judges and the people looking at you. And managing that fatigue is the exact same as managing fatigue day to day. So I think most people here don't compete, so we'll stay away from that a little bit. But stimulating parasympathetic system is very, very important. This is also, to get back to programming, why we just can't progress to eons, okay? Or else Tim and I would not have jobs, yeah? Just telling you to do more every week forever, right? And so there has to be a period of time, every, I would say maximum 6 weeks, where you take at least a couple of workouts and you take it easy, okay? And then you let your system reset, you give the nervous system a period of time where it chills out, and then you're better off. Now, important to recognize, when we stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, when it comes to training, what type of movements do you think hit the sympathetic nervous system the hardest? So compound movements, just for those who don't know what they are.
Squat, bench, dead, press.
Cool, yeah. So there's two variables for me. It's absolute load and axially loaded movements. Anything through your shoulders and heavy. Something like the assault bike is going to be a massive load, and we're going to talk about DOMs in a second. It's going to be a massive load on your muscles, but not necessarily a massive load on your nervous system. Reason being, yeah, feelings definitely not good. Definitely not good. But if we just want to go load and we want to go reps, if we go very high load, and this is actually, let's do this inverse. So this is going to be like 12 reps. This is going to be 1. High load and low reps is going to be up here. Okay, we'll make that a little bar. And low load and very high reps, and maybe we call this, I gotta get myself in the CrossFit thinking. Let's say like 30, it's going to be somewhere down here. And we can think of total systemic load as the areas under those bars. Okay, so even though this is a huge number of reps, since the load is so low, it's going to be very low total systemic load. And this line is exponential. Right? So when it comes to your high volume movements, that's going to cause a lot of local damage at the muscle, not a lot of response in terms of systemic fatigue, unless you're also working in maximal weightlifting movements with that higher intensity, the lower load, higher intensity movements. Yeah? Now, there's a whole second layer to this where now we take load, intensity, total systemic load, and we overlay our fatigue. We're going to leave that bit for today. I think you guys generally get the picture here. Any questions about this stuff? Yeah.
So I have a question. I think relates to this. So I find that like a lot of my, for example, like 1 rep maxes, they're never that. Like I could do my 1 rep max like 5 times, but if you put like 5 more pounds on, I couldn't do that once. And so is that like nervous system related? Partially, but it's going to get more to the principle of anything we do when we exercise is percentage based. So just give me some numbers of what you're talking about. So let's say your max squat. 145.
145, and you reckon if you put 5s on each side, that no go.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's taking 145.
Yeah. I could do multiple reps of 145.
Okay, but your 1 rep max isn't there.
Right, like that's all I got. I can't do more, but I can do this a bunch more times. But if you add more, I can't.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna finish this thought, and then we'll get back to it. So, the one thing that's funny is at my gym, I'm probably the only person who uses like those little plates, the little tiny thin baby plates. Reason being, 145 to 155, let's call that approximately a 7.5% increase in load. Yeah, which we can extrapolate and go, okay, then this guy, we would now be calling that 92.5% of 1 RM. If that's the case, then we're actually saying that to do 155, you need to be repping 145 for 4. And so then I wouldn't say 145 to 155 is an appropriate jump to try. It would be like 145 to 147.5, because a 3% jump in load is basically saying that you could double 145, right? Now, more generally speaking, when it gets to CrossFit and technique, and you guys, when you're doing heavy movements, and you compare that to how I would do a heavy movement, you, say in your squats, you guys are very explosive and very athletic, but you fail like Olympic lifters, where like the bottom of the squat will be like a big bounce, and then it's just like, are we getting out of the hole or are we not? And so you're relying more on stretch shorten cycle than you are on pure power or pure strength. right? Which in your circumstance is going to be more useful because it's not particularly useful for you to have this high level of strength without a high level of elasticity to be able to spring at the bottom, because if you can spring at the bottom, then we're talking about benefits for running, for box jumps, for pistol squats, for all of that, right? So I would say it might be annoying, but unless you come across a 1RM in comp, it's not necessarily a problem. Yeah? Any other questions on that stuff so far? Yeah.
Would you say for folks who are trying to maybe cross-train with doing some CrossFit conditioning and some powerlifting and stuff, that kind of is going to increase both, kind of increase that risk of injury if we're not maximizing that recovery, because we're both putting a lot of strain on the sympathetic nervous system and then also kind of on those muscle fiber.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But also, we would have separate graphs of muscle and the SNS fatigue, where instead of having one bar up here, you're just going to have one bar for each of these there. And then you can have a lot of push and pull and a lot of play in like, okay, I'm going to focus more on my muscular strength or on higher volume work. Or, okay, I'm going to take some time and I'm going to focus on systemic nervous system strength. Because when it comes to something like a 1 rep max, you're not training your muscles, you're training your nervous system. Okay? And then you'll get larger from a systemic response, from a spike in things like growth hormone and testosterone, male and female, where that's going to drive muscle growth in your whole body. Which is why I put on about 130 pounds without ever focusing on bodybuilding style muscular damage, right? That being said, that muscle soreness doesn't contribute to sympathetic nervous system fatigue. And so you could have the most sore biceps of all time, but still come in and hit a new PB squat. But you're not gonna not sleep all night, rock up at 8 in the morning and hit a PB squat. Make sense? Yeah? Now, all of these variables that I just spoke about, that is the secret to operating without injury. If you take all of those, use that as an art, and you apply that, that's how you're going to stay healthy for a long time. And those are the keys of being able to progress for a long time, right? If anyone ever gets hurt and comes into my clinic, they first want to tell me about the technique in which they were using and show me the video that they did it. And more often than not, the video that they did it looks the exact same as the video that they were fine from 2 minutes before. And so what we actually have to look at is load, intensity, volume, principles of recovery, and general injury principles. We take that and go, okay, well, something's gone wrong there, and it's probably more about the programming than it is about you individually, or the flux in which your recovery is happening, right? Where we have those lines cross over, and your demand of your body exceeds the tolerance of your body. Make sense? Cool.